welcome Alberto Guffanti and Pierpaolo Busacchi from Commonshood, University of Turin.
Hi, Matteo. Hi, everyone. Can you see me and hear me?
We can.
Good. Does it work? The next step will be whether the slides work, but we will see. So first of all, thanks a lot to Matteo and the whole organization behind ETHTurin hackathon. It's been a big effort, I'm sure, to put it up to put everything together, especially in these difficult conditions. And I think we started to talk to Matteo some months ago when we found out there was this hackathon, and when he found out about our research group at the university, at the Department of Computer Science, focused on social computing and on blockchain. And Matteo became a huge fan, can I say it, about our project Commonshood?
Yes, you can say that.
So we started discussing about it and whether we could somehow support hackathon, put something together for it. We do share with Matteo, and I've just seen from the introduction, this idea that global adoption is good, but what is most important and where we see a lot of potential for blockchain technologies in general, Ethereum in particular, because we're focused on Ethereum, is local adoption. So adoption in local communities, adoption in the local public administration, and local association that can make the most of it. The point there is that in order to have local adoption, you're almost often addressing people which are not extremely, and I'm not trying to say it in an offensive way, but it's not extremely computer literate. So you have to make things as simple as possible if you want to have local adoption. You cannot expect people to go install complicated plugins, write code in obscure languages, and so on and so forth, just to issue a ticket or a coupon or something like that. So what we set out with is try to develop a tool, for example, within a project, within a European funded project, for the administration of common goods, of beni comuni urbani, so urban common spaces, that would allow people to manage through blockchain technologies this kind of enterprises. So what we came up is Commonshood. Commonshood has been a part financed mostly by projects that are funded by the EU, the urban interaction actions of the EU addressed to the local cities, and so on and so forth, and then the prize blockchain for social good. Commonshood evolved. It's now part of other projects from the group, which I will tell you more about later. And but now I'll switch the presentation and I'll share my screen, if I manage, and give a short presentation about what Commonshood is, what's the status, what a couple of suggestions. So Commonshood is a part of the main track. You will have access to the repository of the Commonshood tab. You can hack on it. There's a couple of suggestions that we have for project, but feel free to go ahead and implement your own ideas. Pierpaolo, after me, will give you a bit more of a technical introduction of how the GitHub repositories are structured, what's in there, what's the architecture of the app, and the technological stack. So let me now share my screen and present it. So you should see my slides at the moment. So as I said, Commonshood is sort of what we call an Internet of Values 2.0 revolution for social innovation in local communities. So here you have also reference to the website, www.commonshood.eu, with a bit more description of what the project is, what are its aims, and so on. It has been developed within the Co-City European funded project in Torino by the Department of Computer Science of the University of Torino, the Department of Law, and a group of associations like Association Habitat Ozanam, MUFAN, the Reticas del Quartiere, Voluntaries, and Open Lab in Athens and Sociality Corp in Athens. So the idea of Commonshood and the way we designed Commonshood is to democratize local financial instrument, and local financial instruments that are designed to support local communities and urban commoning effort. And how do we plan to democratize it, to open it to people? Well, the analogy that we like to use is the analogy of the Web 2.0. So at the beginning of the web, for those who are old enough like me and have been around for a long time, if you had to set up your own blog or your own website, you had to be able to coordinate HTML, things were working, not working, and so on. Then came up the Web 2.0. With Web 2.0 allowed people to publish content in an easy way on social platform, open up blogs, also without any programming experience. Now, creating tokens, issuing tokens on the blockchain, and so on at the moment is something which technical users can do relatively easy, but there's a lack of platforms that allow non-technical users to create and distribute new type of tokens in an easy way. And this is what Commonshood sets out to do. So allow people, in analogy with the Web 2.0, to create an Internet of Values, a local Internet of Values 2.0, in which everyone can issue their own tokens that are secured on a blockchain, can distribute them, can attach them properties, and so on. And this can be used to implement a big stack of possibilities. You can implement prepaid cards, discount coupons, crowd sale, give access rights to certain areas or certain services online. You can put together group buying groups in an easy way, create time banks in which you don't exchange monetary value, but value through time, so services that you offer. You can easily implement complementary currencies or digital collectibles and more. You can think about what kind of tokens, what kind of properties you would like to give to your token. We do it through a standard technology stack. We have a smart contract factory that allows you to create new types of tokens. We base everything on Ethereum technology and ERC standards for interoperability. Since we are a local, we focus on the local economy, we integrate it with another project of the computer science department, which is First Life. I'll say a little bit more about it. It's a geolocalized social network, and we strive to do it in a single app. So these are the communities that we developed Commonshood with, or we are developing Commonshood with. It's an ongoing process. We have, for example, Volto, which is a volunteers association. They use it to certify performances of volunteers. There's a company called XR, which is implementing a complementary currency with a social flavor. There's a museum, the MUFAN, which is the Museum of Fantastic and so on, that it's implementing digital collectibles within the university with the students. We develop tokens which have the purpose of fostering the green economy. We are working with the retailers of Ascom on projects of customer retention, and with Visit Piemonte, which is the agency for the tourism of the Regione Piemonte, to offer discount coupons. And we support urban commons through prepaid card, crowd sales, and this is in particular with the Rete delle Case del Quartiere. And then there is a plan for welfare services in collaboration.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Can you explain what Casa del Quartiere is?
So yeah, Casa del Quartiere is a very nice experience in Torino. It stemmed from a public and private abandoned buildings that in the years have been given in administration to associations. Now, what they created in the different Case del Quartiere, so neighborhood houses, is an association of associations. So the case are open for everybody, for example, to propose and instate their own initiatives. So in the Casa del Quartiere, in the houses, you have courses, for example, for kids, courses for adults, seminars, group buying, association that gather there and resell produces and products. They have, for example, language courses for foreigners, and they are all offered on a voluntary or a least cost basis, and they are administered by the association that take part to the life of the Casa del Quartiere. So they are associations of associations. So, for example, in these days when these realities are all shut down, there's only limited activities that go on, and the activities that go on is that they work as collecting places for food and then redistributions of food to people in need or people in a fragility situation. And they are really focused on the ultra local concept. So they're not only focused on Torino as a city, for example, but on the really on the neighborhood in which they are. So it's really the ultra local economy, if you want. And there are 8 around Torino, and they are partners also in other projects that I'll say a bit more about later. So we are creating, for example, a coin for internal transactions within Casa del Quartiere, so within the neighborhood houses, in which, for example, by participation in the course offered by an association, you can get these coins that then you can use as a discount, for example, in the bar of the Casa del Quartiere, or you can donate it and so on. So are a very, very nice urban common experience. So for all of those who are in Torino, really, please go and have a look. And don't know the Casa del Quartiere. It's a really, really, really nice initiative. And the other plan, more with, if you want, an institutional level, is with the social services. We used a spin-off of Commonshood. We plan to use a spin-off of Commonshood to distribute subsidies that come from the EU to families in need. This would include certification of social work, tickets for medical visits, and so on and so forth. As I said, Commonshood is strongly linked to another project of the University of Torino, First Life, which I urge you to go and see also. It's, I forgot to put the website, but it's www.firstlife.org. So First Life, it's a map-based civic social network. So if you think it's a combination, if you want, of a social network like Facebook and a mapping service as Google Maps. So the center, it's the interface is the map and the entities on the map. But on Google Maps, you only have limited possibilities of interactions with entities that are on the map, while First Life brings the interactions, so discussions and so on, activities that you would have on your Facebook wall on the local level, on the map level. So it gives you the possibility to flag or to register an entity and then have all the discussions about that, polls, post some multimedia content and so on. It integrates institutional open data and crowdsourced information, and it's a shared virtual space for coordination, cooperation, and collaboration based on participatory mapping. And why it is important for us to connect it to Commonshood, it's because businesses and local initiatives can be identified on First Life and be linked to Commonshood, so have wallets. So on top of all the interaction that you can normally have on First Life, if you link a Commonshood wallet to the First Life entities, you would have, this entity would also have the possibility to issue tokens, create a crowd sale, distribute it, advertise its activities, and so on and so forth. So this is why it's important. And again, for example, First Life has been used in this period of emergency in Torino, for example, to map shops that would do home delivery for people that couldn't get out of the house because of the emergency and so on. So again, it's another activity that it's focused on the local level. So as we said, we're putting up, so Commonshood in its first implementation, Commonshood was a web app that was based on Ethereum proof of authority, but had a login server and so on. We're now developing the second iteration of Commonshood, if you want, which is a DApp, a distributed app, and this is what we are, what we put in the repositories that you find on our GitHub for the hackathon. We identified some possible tracks for hackers that would like to work on Commonshood. There is the first one, it's the easy one if you want, in the sense that it's a feature that we already had in the web app that's still working in the web app, and that needs to be ported to the DApp, to the decentralized app. It's the crowd sale. So for the crowd sale, for example, in the repositories, you will find the smart contracts are already available. The interaction with the backend is available, but there's the need to build a front end. On the other hand, for the creation and transfer of tokens, there is already a function in front end that you can take as an inspiration for the front end if you want to work on this specific track for the crowd sale. And then there are more creative, if you want, problems that we thought about. So for example, implementing, for which we don't have, for example, smart contracts implemented at the moment, you won't find them in the repository. It's something that we would like to work on. So it's the concept of a virtual vending machine in which you exchange a token for another token in real time. Needs to be preloaded with a fixed number of tokens. It works like if you want a coffee machine where the seller wants to sell coffees, so he preloads a certain number of coffees, and then one comes with money and buys one coffee, redeems a token for a coffee, and so on. We were thinking of a geolocalized task market, so a market, not only vending machine for things, but for tasks. And for example, if you think about the idea that we have in mind is within an association, for example, within that uses a common space. For example, somebody notices that there is a window broken or something, and then can mark the task and say, okay, there's this window to repair or this work to be done. Somebody picks up the task, which is tokenized somehow, and once it's done, when the task is completed, submits the receipts and everything is fine, he gets paid in tokens. This is a task market, for example, or the shared management of physical assets, for example. So again, there might be tools that are very specific tools that you might want to rent out from a workshop or something, or from another outlet, and you would like to keep track of who has the specific asset. And so we wanted to create a shared management of the physical assets through tokenization of the asset. So create a token which is linked to a specific asset, and then it's distributed in the platform. For those of you who are in Torino, again, is an example in the Casa del Quartiere and in other local offices, you can have what is called the Biblioteca delle Cose, so the library of things. Instead of just getting a book, you can get objects that you wouldn't have, for example, for doing your homework, home repairs, because are professional tools, but you could go there, rent them, pass them around, and so on and so forth. So these are possible ideas that we had, but please feel free to come up with your own idea of how you would like to use Commonshood, what you would like to implement. On the Discord channel, there will be myself, Luca, and Pierpaolo, who can help you out with discussing the structure of the repository, the code which is there, the architecture of the code, and so on. And if I am allowed another couple of minutes, Matteo, to do a shameless plug of other activities that we are doing.
Of course, absolutely.
So there's other projects we are involved. Again, they are all focused on blockchain. One project, it's a European, they are European projects, Europeanly funded project. One project is the project CO3. It's a project that has as a goal to design a new interaction models between the public administration, especially again, the local public administration and citizens. And it's focused on using 5 disruptive technologies. Blockchain is one of those and constitutes the backbone of it. And then augmented reality, interactive democracy, geolocalized social networks like First Life, and gamification. And the idea is the one of creating what we call augmented commoning areas. So areas of urban commoning, which are not only physical areas, but are also augmented in the sense of augmented reality and augmented interactions. This is a project that kickstarted a year and a half ago, more or less. It's a European funded project with partners in 5 countries and 3 pilot sites. One is Torino, one is Paris, and one is Athens. So the other project, which is more on an instruction level as a university, is the DLT for All project. Again, it's funded by the EU. We are one of the 10 partners, and the idea is to create a course, an online-offline course, based on a multidisciplinary approach that would provide a scientific know-how and commercial knowledge on DLT technologies, and blockchain in particular, to students, to entrepreneurs, and to investors, because oftentimes there is a lack of understanding, we find, and a lack of available information to people who would then have to take strategic decision about whether to use or not digital ledger technologies, blockchain, or invest in them, or decide whether it's an interesting field of study. So there is this course that we are developing. Please go and have a look at the information. And the last project that I'll mention is a project on food traceability, again using blockchain, IoT, geolocalization, and BPM, business project management. It's called PNIN, and it's focused on protecting PMNTs, in particular DOPs, and to track the use of European funds to support local agriculture. As I said, these are some of the projects. The group, if you want, please feel free to contact us also outside of the hackathon. We are always looking for interesting collaborations and so on. You can contact either Guido, who is the head of the group, Claudio, or myself. And yeah, we are open to collaborations. And with this, I think I'll leave the...
I would maybe ask if there's any questions related to this first abstract section before we dip into the technical side.
Yeah, I would like to make a question to Alberto. First of all, I'm Lorenzo. I want to make a question about all this project. If there's some talking with the team of the central government which has developed EO, the app that has come out in these last couple of days. If there's some way to integrate all these projects from universities of Turin, or I don't know if other universities around Italy are developing things on blockchain. And also, it's probable that there are some contacts with Paola Pisano, since it was in the University of Turin, and she taught me economy class. And yeah, if there's a possibility to integrate all these great features like quadratic voting for local communities in an app that is national.
So at the moment, so there's a couple of steps, I think. With EO, for example, not directly. There's talks through intermediate, if you want, association that you also know, like CSI, GSA Piemonte, and so on. So which is our partner or the partner that supports the digital development of the local administration. There is talks to create first a regional level blockchain that would allow integration at the regional level of all the projects. Not everyone creates his own project in a random way. If you want, or spins up a new proof of authority blockchain just to do their thing, just have a more structured approach to it. A more structured approach to integration to ID, to decentralized identity, for example, so that people could register and operate on such a platform in a way in which would allow them to preserve their data and it's secure and so on. Also possible integration. There's no really, this is more like a speculative thing, whether one could integrate it with something like speed for identification, so that you can provide really a strong link of interaction. So with the public administration. So there are talks with it. It's of course a complicated process, but it's going on. It's going on, and the idea is to try and start from the small, so start from the university, and then radiate out as much as we can through the regional level, and then eventually to the national level. Top-down approach wouldn't work that well, I think.
We've seen it too many times. Yes.
I think the problem is also that, I mean, I'm sure, and I know of other similar initiatives. So I'm not saying or selling that we are the only ones in Italy doing these kind of things. There are wonderful initiatives in Sardinia, for example, and so on. And I think that my idea is that we can try and grow a little bit to our level and then start discussing with the others to see whether we find the level of integration that could be suitable to be used by everyone, rather than having somebody imposing from the top, oh, everyone should go the same way. There are some things that we should keep in mind. I think whenever we spin up or we think about proof of authority, for example, we keep in mind EBSI, so the European blockchain infrastructure, and try to follow guidelines that would be implemented at the EBSI level, because then it would be easier to implement it at the European level. So follow the same protocols. So they, for example, they are set on Ethereum proof of authority using click, blah blah blah. At least try to keep technical parameters as similar as possible, so that it's easy to adapt and integrate. But not take it as a diktat from above, which is not something that would work in such a way. I mean, give the power to the local communities, and local communities are very different from each other. So the needs of Torino are very different from the needs of Sardinia in some sense. But we can have a common infrastructure. So yeah, I think that's the way to go about it.
Yes, absolutely. I would, before commenting further, I would make sure that we have at least the time for the technical part of the talk, and then maybe we can move on to further conversational stuff. So
absolutely, I'll leave it to Pierpaolo.
Perfect.
Okay.
Pierpaolo, it's your turn.
First thing first, you can hear me, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
We can
Okay.
hear you loud and clear.
Let's try to share the screen. Okay, do you see it?
Yep.
Okay, all right. So I am one of the main devs of this project. I work as a contract researcher in Unito, and I try to keep it short and nice and comprehensive, also because I'm not good as a speaker as Alberto is. So starting first, this is the repo. It's public on GitHub. We have 3 repos: one from the front end, one for the back end, which is very simple, and one for the contracts. The contracts one is this one. You have to go to on the developer branch because it's the most updated. And
is very secure. Are very secure. Both of proof of work mechanism and in the future proof of stake.
Hearing.
The privacy of
Guys.
Yeah, I guess it's Jacopo or Leonardo talking in the other room.
Yes, you can go. Sorry, go,
Okay.
Pierpaolo. All yours.
Okay. So this is the contract repo. Here we have our basic contracts, which are one for the tokens, which is ERC20 mintable in detail. We are using the OpenZeppelin Solidity public repo, which is this one. We use you have to go in tags and use the 2.5.0 version. This is basically ERC20 which with some extension, very simple. We have added some owner, we have the information of the owner. We have added the possibility to mint, to create a capped token, which is one that you can mint only at the creation. Or else you can have a mintable token, which is one you can mint through the time, however number of time you want. The token factory is the factory. We use the factory product model. So you have the token factory, which creates directly the token template, the tokens via the token template Sol contract. And here you have some extra information, like all the token created from this factory. Each factory you instantiate in your app. The token possessed, which means the tokens a user, which means a contract on Ethereum has received. Here you have an array, a registry, which is this struct. That we use for keeping track of all the token specific user possess. As Alberto said, we have also the cross sales, which are very simple, still with the factorial product model. And also we have the DAO, which are the standard definition of DAO. We use also here not here, but here, some implementation of OpenZeppelin, like the roles for managing which authority or authorization you have over the DAO. Like you can create a token, or you can create it directly cross sale, or you can send to other user. And I suggest strongly to go in test. If you need to have a rapid evaluation of whatever you can do, you can go in the test folder. Here you have some extensive tests that you can run with Truffle. And you have a good representation of all the things you can do. One important thing I suggest, if you are using Remix to try the contracts, or you want to push them in specific networks or blockchains. First thing first, activate the compile plugin, of course. Set the AVM version to Byzantium, because else some implementation won't work. We learned this the hard way, spending hours debugging and trying to understand why it didn't work. However, with the 2.5.0 version, set the AVM version to Byzantium. So this is a little recap on the contract. We have also the backend repo, which is very simple. You can follow the instruction in the documentation to run it on localhost. At this address in localhost, you have the Explorer. We use Loopback as a web framework inside here. It's an old version. We are trying to upgrade it, but we are short in time. Anyway, you have a Loopback here. The important thing is this bank API. And basically, we use this to keep track of the wallets the user use in our app, because we allow anyone to switch via MetaMask on the wallet they use. So we keep track here, and we offer a simple to see way to send different tokens to different users without having to digit exactly the address or recover it. You basically write the nickname of the user you want to send it. The backend retrieve the currently active wallet. We have the list of all the wallets and one which is the currently active. Basically, every time you log in, we take the your wallet address via MetaMask, set it here. So we keep track constantly of the one you are really using. The front-end repo is the biggest one. There is a little description. We use React. Is app created via creative React app. Redux used for managing the state. Is actually big but very simple. All the important information are basically in the store, which is the common architecture to manage action via Redux. In the action folder, for example, in CoinJS, you find all the call on the blockchain related to the coins, how to send them, how to retrieve them, etc. You also find the first time you run this app, you have to create a config.js file inside source, which you take this config template .js, you create a config.js, copy this there, put the API and the address of your contract that you have loaded via Remix. Or if you want, we can give the one we are using currently. And the app we start will ask you to set a specific MetaMask network with all the information. You will find all of them in a web page. We have also a block explorer. That information will appear in the same web page with all the instruction. And basically, it is, if you want to go to see how is this app currently, this is an online version. Is a beta, of course. We have a little functionality at the moment. As Alberto said, we have still to implement all the cross-sale functionality. The contract is ready, the backend is ready, but the frontend is not ready at the moment. In the folder I showed you before, which is the store action, you find a cross-sale.js file which has all the API calls and is not directly connected to the blockchain. So that is to rewrite completely, but fairly easy looking at the CoinJS, which is a correct version calling directly the blockchain. This is a representation of the wallet of the user. At the moment, I have a lot of this coin. Anyway, you can create a new coin directly here. For our use, we have two types of coins, which are the coins indeed, and the coupons. The only difference is basically that the coupons are not decimal. It's not possible to make, for example, a 0.1 of one coupon. It's possible to do that of a coin. For example, if I want to create a coin, add an icon, a name of the coin, symbol, which is of 3 to 5 characters, a supply, if I want, and a short description. I also have to add a contract, which is a representation of what TS token is used to. We are working with a legal department to create some contract which is legally enforceable. At the moment, we are using just placeholder, of course. So as soon as we want to create it, the MetaMask confirmation window will appear. We confirm this. At this moment, is mining the transition. Our network has 50 seconds block time at the moment, just to keep it simple for testing. This is the second transaction, which is for minting the amount for the coin. Once completed, I will have both the notification in the MetaMask window, and also the coin will be ready to be sent around in my wallet. So this is okay. This is the coin I just created. I can use it to pay for someone, for example, my colleague Luca, if I can find it. Here it is. Confirmation window is okay. So moment in time, around 15 seconds, MetaMask will inform me if the transaction went well or not. Last thing, here there is the older version. This is the web app version of this app. This is beta app Commonshood.eu. This is app Commonshood.eu. Here you can find also all the functionality which are still not implemented in the app. For example, all the cross sales. Here are some examples. And you can find create cross sale. There are all the functionality we have not yet implemented. It's still very simple. Basically, here the backend was very big and complex because we wanted to obfuscate for the user the fact that we were using a blockchain behind the scenes, because our partner preferred to have a testing platform more simple initially, but this is not relevant at this point, and this is all. If you have any question else, you can find me and Luke on the Discord server. I am Pierpaolo, and Luke is Luke Skywalker, this one written in a strange way.
Perfect. Thank you, Pierpaolo. I do have one first question, and then hopefully there will be some more from our listeners. So we had a nice overview from starting from a more general to the technical, etc. Of course, the hacking is open to any idea and implementation, etc. But do you, as long as we are talking about test lab communities, so projects that somehow are already in place, this is an open question to you and also to Alberto, of course. Is there any kind of track or any kind of direction that you would recommend if someone wants to tackle these Commonshood track? Is there any direction that you would say, actually, we do have like already like a test community for that? So anything directed to that is welcome, etc. Just as
Okay. I think I would really suggest to try to make the vending machine example that Alberto cited just before, because talking with some partners of our application and also some community partners, I saw that there were a lot of interest in this type of dynamic where a user has a direct way to exchange some of his activities or tokens for some other tokens or activities indeed. And if you can implement it in a very simple way, with very little difficulties for the common user, maybe if you have to have more complexity, try to put it on the end of the creator of the vending machine, so the one which is offering a service. If you can make it simple for the common user, I think you can build a lot of useful interactions for most of the activities you can find in the common market.
Yeah, I do share, I mean, Pierpaolo's idea. I mean, if somebody is looking for really something where we already know that we have projects that are interested into, and this is something we're working on and so on actively, the vending machine is definitely one of the most interesting one, because it gives us, I mean, crowd sales, you will see if you have a look at the crowd sales, how they work. It's somebody you gather, so you have an horizon in time, crowd sale opens and closes at a certain point, needs to get at least, for example, 50 people participating in order to produce the good, if you want. The typical example is, I want to produce t-shirts, and I would like to produce some t-shirts, but I need to gather the money before I do a bunch of them. So I ask for 50 people to commit before I produce something. This is the concept behind the crowd sale within a frame of time. So the crowd sale closes it's like the Kickstarter project, right? I mean, it closes at a certain time, or it closes if you reach a goal. A vending machine is more like, as I said, something where you exchange something for something else immediately. It's really a local thing. It's something that should be an interaction that can happen in a bar, for example, a token for redeeming coffee in an easy. This is the easiest example, but you can think of other applications. You can connect lots of users to that. This is something that it's actually being explored as possible applications within, for example, the CO3 project, which also uses parts of Commonshood. It's for example, one of the pilot sites are flea markets in Athens. This is a place where you can really think about exchanging goods and a bit of bartering and so on. So this is one of the examples. Casa del Quartiere in Torino are another example where you would exchange for courses and so on. Another extremely interesting one at the moment is everything based, as Pierpaolo's shown, everything is based on ERC20s, mintable. An extension of the factory to collectibles, to ERC 721 is also very interesting. We were thinking about it now, especially in the emergency situation, in which you could redeem, for example, a token for the participation to a virtual course. So, for example, as I said, in the neighborhood houses, the Casa del Quartiere, they organize courses like yoga courses, or my son participates in a circus course, for example. Of course, these courses are not happening now in place, but they could happen remotely. So like a video lesson or something like this. And we could think about a factory of NFTs, for example, in order to access the video room where this course is happening. It's ways that we are trying to find in order to support those associations that at the moment have their businesses heavily disrupted because of the COVID emergency. There's no in-presence activities, but you might do it remotely. But then you also want to support them in a financial way, in the sense that somebody should buy the tickets and should be safe to redeem them. And for example, the NFT, like the participation in the vote of ETHTurin, right? Imagine to use such an NFT to access a Jitsi video room where there is the course that you were thinking. So this line of thinking is something that we are thinking. Actually, we weren't thinking about it before, but we are thinking about it in adapting it to the COVID emergency. And it's a place where if people have ideas in that direction, please go ahead. Also, if you have questions, I'm saying to everyone, questions about how a vending machine would work and so on, which features should have and so on, let us discuss on Discord. As Matteo, you were saying before, code is preferred, but also ideas. These things are things that we are thinking on the way. So even getting out of the hackathon with an idea or a flow of how the code should work, it's a great help.
Yeah, I believe that the analog side of things is not going to be vanishing any sooner. So we do need a very simple analog plug into the use case, and then coding can be done, can be retrieved, can be used open source, etc. So
as I said, I mean, Commonshood is an open source project, first of all. On top of that, please, if you want to get involved, get in contact with us. There's official ways in which we can support development of Commonshood within the university, for students, for external programmers. We are looking at collaborators. There's various ways in which we can get in touch and get involved with people. So please.
Right. Any questions from the audience? Because I keep having questions myself. We have no questions whatsoever from anyone. Okay, then
another question. Just interest. I worked for the stage at the Blink project.
Yes.
What's the stage of that project?
So Blink. So for those who don't know, Blink is another project that we had together with the Consoft Sistemi and CSI Piemonte. Blink was a project to create a digital portfolio based on blockchain. In particular, it was using the model of Enigma for documents for migrants. So there would be an endorsement procedure and so on and so forth. So I wasn't involved into it. I arrived after it. As far as I know, so the project is closed. It has been presented. I know there's evolution. There's no ongoing work at the moment, but it's a project that it's not forgotten, in the sense that it's something where people have shown interest. There is, I mean, the timing was also a bit unfortunate, if you want, because there was change in the local administration or in the regional administration, which was the commitment of the project. So people have to readapt and so on, and relearn about all the projects that have been done before. But also evolution of that could be thought about. I mean, as I said, the idea was to create a portfolio of documents for migrants. They would put a document, they would get endorsement from the issuer of the document. Or, for example, it could be, somebody who's rented an apartment for 10 months and says, okay, this is document, I've rented an apartment, and then the owner of the apartment would go on the platform and say and endorse the person and say, for example, yes, I am the owner of the apartment. he rightfully rented this apartment, always paid on time, and so on and so forth, would gather evidence for people who are in a situation where gathering documents is difficult. So that's another very interesting project. It's a little bit outside the scope of the circular local economy, but it's something that it's there. I mean, it's not forgotten, but at the moment it's on hiatus.
Well, it's quite peculiar to the reality of Turin. Turin is one of the Italian cities with the best merging cultures between northern Africans and other regions of Nigeria, etc. So I think it's definitely one of our priorities. It resonates, by the way, with it's something that you should ping Radical Exchange and Glenn Whale about, because this is something that, like the alternative way of vising, so giving visas to people. It's one of Radical Exchange. Now I cannot really focus the chapter, but it's there.
Okay, cool.
Okay, one last questions, and then I would say we wait for the next speaker. I received some questions from just passionates who are starting to learn Solidity and smart contract just by themselves, especially with the quarantine, etc. And as long as you are university teachers as well, would you recommend certain resources online or better ways to get acquainted with Solidity and smart contract coding?
So first thing I would say is get ready for entering a hell, because
I agree.
Because I have been working a little bit in blockchain companies and so on for some time before, and it's a pain. If you're used to a well-developed programming languages that usually doesn't break everything that you've done with a minor update, then you're in for a shock with Solidity. But having said that, I mean, I always give the first advice is always read Antonopoulos' book, Mastering Ethereum. Gives you a very, very nice introduction. I think he is very good at writing, at giving you an idea and an overall picture of what's going on. It was like this with Mastering Bitcoin. It's I think like this also with Mastering Ethereum, which, by the way, is written together with Gavin Wood from Parity, who is the first author of Solidity. And then I don't know really about. I mean, there's a plethora of courses around on Udemy. There's official resources from the Ethereum Foundation. I think the best way is just get your hands dirty and try some simple project that works. I don't know if Pierpaolo and Luca have, or even Lorenzo, better suggestions. I mean, it's just that it's so fast changing that it's very difficult for me to give a resource which is stable and trustworthy in some sense. I mean, we have examples all the time of new compiler version that breaks everything that you've done before, which can be frustrating, but that's unfortunately the level. So the main thing is, if it works, don't change it, stick to it. We even to the cost of being told, oh, but you're not using this new fancy feature. Yes, but it breaks everything that I've done before. So, for example, if you look at Commonshood, I think Pierpaolo can confirm it. I think we say explicitly stick to Solidity 0.5.0 because otherwise contracts that we are using will break and so on and so forth. Again, as I said, nothing comes to mind at the moment with resources, direct resources. But I don't know if Pierpaolo or Luca is on, Lorenzo, a better suggestion. Otherwise, just ping us or ping every other developer on Discord. We will have a look at it. We will for sure think about it.
Perfect.
If
So I would like to
just a second,
okay.
Matteo.
Yes,
2 seconds.
1 minute.
If I can suggest something, I had the fortune to get a scholarship for the Consensus Developer Program. I think it was great. There were some great resources, a great community, and there was a great structure, and a great community of students. And the last project was exciting to do because it was a complex. It was not a simple boot camp. So if there's the possibility to get a scholarship, I recommend this course. Otherwise, for it's some videos and some slides. For when I made it, it was like $100 US. If you can get a scholarship, I can recommend it. Otherwise, there are some other ways.
Perfect. Sounds good. So, guys, thank you, Alberto, and thank you, Pierpaolo. I remember they are on Discord under the Commonshood support project by University of Turin.